As you know, at a Band of Brothers, we're concerned with men.
Sure.
And just a few statistics around that. So we currently are in a situation where an average of 15 men a day take their own lives, where if men committed crime at the same rate as women, our prisons would be empty and we'd save about £4.2 billion a year that we're currently spending on locking up men. 2 women a week are killed by their partners or their ex-partners. What is it that is going on with men? Why is there this problem with men?
Good question. I think a lot of it has to do with an increasing lack of belonging, I suppose. I think that an industrial revolution, an enlightenment, a reformation, an enlightenment, an industrial revolution, 2 world wars, and enough militarism to sink any one country in the world has created a situation in which men are strangers to their souls, for the most part, and deeply cut off from nature, from each other, and from what you might think of as the way of being a man. Now, that's a fluid thing, inevitably. But men have kind of lost contact with themselves as we know that patriarchy doesn't work. We know that we don't have total power over women. We don't have a position in society automatically because of our gender. And no one has given us the rule book. And I think that a lot of the problems that we have are to do with the fact that we have lost confidence at some level. And when we lose confidence, we act out. That's when it gets worse.
And by we, do you mean men?
We as men, we begin to act out, and, you know, Friday night in any town in Britain is not a good place to be. I also think it's getting worse. I think that globalization and intolerance, I mean, I've never lived in such an intolerant time. I don't know about you, but it's a shocking situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. So the lack of tolerance for each other on a small scale, quite apart from the huge political scale, you know, in the street, we're rude. We've lost, Mark Rylance, the actor, I was talking to him a little while ago, and he's saying the one thing he would really like to bring back would be manners. Just the understanding that someone else is a human being and deserves a bit of respect. Well, we don't do that anymore. And I think a lot of early men's work took wimps and turned them into arseholes. You know, that was almost a given. We have to kind of yang up. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. But what do we have? What forms can we use? What can we do to give ourselves the confidence to stand up as men and say, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'm me. So that's and the other thing I think is that I don't know how many people here have been through 12-step recovery programs, and I very rarely proselytize about this. I tend not to, but it came up this evening, so I'm going to mention it now. And that is, there was a book written about 30 years ago by a woman called Anne Wilson Schaaf, who wrote a book called When Society Becomes an Addict. And I remember reading that book at the same time as I heard Michael Meade in a program with James Hillman. Michael Meade, I heard him say, when the center no longer holds, you have to go to the edge. And that's what it feels like at the moment. It feels like the center is breaking up. It feels like all the old institutions are no longer valid. politics, churches, you name an institution, it's under threat for some reason at the moment. Is that in the stars? I don't know. But there's something there. And in amongst all that, I think the first one to go was patriarchy at some level, and it's still in place. We know that. There's a lot to do. However, we need to find something that is going to give us, as men, a sense of valid identity in a changing culture.